Also, I forgot to say, everybody would have passed a bathroom on the way in, so it's just right up the door and to the left. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Maddie. Maddie is a nutrition expert who helps people feel their best through individualized, holistic, and attainable lifestyle programs. Her passion is to offer her clients real-life knowledge and tools without the quick fix gimmicks that permeate the media today. Maddie believes that each person is different and there is no one-size-fits-all. She applies a functional approach to nutrition which is scientifically and holistically based to help people feel their best, lose weight, and prevent and manage disease. Her mission is for all of her clients to be operating at their fullest potential. Maddie believes that education and awareness empower people to optimize their well-being and quality of life. She teaches taste meets health, nutrition, and cooking demonstrations to adult groups, as well as good nutrition habits in elementary and secondary schools. Maddie's known for making complex and confusing nutrition issues easy and accessible, and cuts through the often confusing media bites. A cleanse expert, Maddie crafts the perfect cleanses for her clients, helping them to achieve vibrant health and an optimum sense of energy, productivity, creativity. She also runs seasonal group cleanses that provide the support and encouragement of a community, as well as her individual attention for each cleanser. Maddie is a partner in Happy, Healthy, and Hope, where she teams up with a fitness and makeup expert and a professional style coach. This team of experts brings unique, personalized packages of health, balance, and beauty to women who want an easy one-stop way to revitalize their inner and outer selves. Maddie has a bachelor's degree from the University of California, Berkeley, a master's of business administration from Columbia University, and a master's of science and human nutrition from the University of Bridgeport. She's also a graduate of the American University of Complementary Medicine certification program in complementary nutritional medicine, a program highlighting an integrative approach to nutrition and health. She stays abreast in her field by consistently attending conferences and seminars. And I went to her classes on energy a couple weeks ago, and it was really fantastic, and I learned so much. So.
That was very long. Sorry, guys. So I'm really happy to be here. I came to Nicole's first circle a month ago, and I think she's doing a really great service for all of us. So thank you, Nicole. And then when she asked me to come and talk about something, I thought, God, there are so many things to talk about. I mean, there's so many food issues and food concepts, and but since I have been teaching these classes about energy, and I thought that energy is something we can all relate to. It's either something we all want more of, or even if we feel super energetic, it's something at this age that we want to cultivate. And I thought, especially, for us at this age, we're striving to be so much, we're striving, and to be present with all that we do. So we're striving to be present with ourselves, with our friends, with our family, with our work, and it's really hard to be present if we're worn out and tired. So I thought, and then there are a lot of us too that are, some of us are just hanging on. We're really tired, but some of us are also feeling this second spring, and we have, a burst of creativity, or we want to do new things. So this is something I thought we could all relate to and, cultivate throughout our lives. So I actually put together a little flyer. It's a little tip sheet. It's an very abbreviated version of my class, but I took a lot of those concepts. And actually, it's 20 to 4. So right about now is when a lot of people are just ready to take a nap, or, go jonesing for that chocolate bar. I mean, this is the time. So I'm going to talk about, how we can avoid those slumps and how we can stay vital and energetic all day long. So our first goal, as you can see on the handout that I put together, I hope you don't mind if I sit, is to keep our blood sugar stable. And most of you know what blood sugar is. For those of you who need a brief primer, we basically break our food down in our intestines, and it turns into something called glucose. And then our blood, we absorb the glucose from our intestines into our blood, and then that is actually the fuel for our cells, and that's what our cells use to function. Our bodies strive to maintain a homeostasis of about a half a teaspoon of blood sugar in our blood. So, and that's where we function best. So we kind of want to keep our food intake to maintain that homeostasis and keep it very moderate instead of going on this roller coaster ride where we might feel good, but then we're going to crash. So how do we maintain stable blood sugar? One way we can do that is by making sure that we eat certain foods. And there are three basic food groups. We want to eat proteins, we want to eat fiber, which is in complex carbs. A lot of you may know this. This is nothing new for a lot of you. And we want to eat fats. So proteins we find in, and what proteins do actually is they just take longer to digest, so they stay in our stomach longer. So proteins are also really good to manage hunger because we're going to feel full or satisfied longer. So we've got our animal, for those of us who are meat eaters, we've got our animal proteins, and I always recommend going as clean and lean as you can. With fish we want to be safe. With chicken we would ideally like it to be organic, free range. It actually changes the makeup of the chicken, and it's also a happier chicken. And with meat, ideally organically grown, organically raised as well, and pasture fed, because it does change its whole fatty acid profile. And then we have great proteins in the plant kingdom. We've got legumes, we've got nuts, we've got seeds. It's also in whole grains. So those are our proteins. Then we've got fiber, which we pretty much find in what we call complex carbohydrates. So those are going to be our vegetables, our fruits, our legumes, our whole grains. We've got some vegetables that are really high in fiber, like our cruciferous family, asparagus. We've got vegetables that are kind of moderate, have a moderate amount of fiber, and those would be like our root vegetables. And what fiber does is it's hard to digest. It's just, so it slows our transit time. We have two kinds of fiber. Insoluble is we're basically not digesting it. So that's also slowing that release of sugar into our blood. And then we have fats, which, is a loaded subject for many. And for the people that I see in my practice, it seems like, I have two camps. I have people who avoid it at all costs, and I have people who eat too much of it. And, from my perspective, I think, we're landing somewhere in between. We actually need fats. There are fats that are actually essential fatty acids, meaning we can't make them in our body. So we actually need them. Our brain is 2/3 fat. So, if people are having mood issues or cognitive issues, that's one area to look at. Are we getting the right menu of fatty acids in our meals? So fats are important. They also make up the cell membranes. We want to keep our cell membranes fluid. I won't get too sciencey, but we do need our fats. So what are good fats? We've got avocados, we've got coconut oil, we've got flax, we've got the fats from nuts and seeds. Those are all really good fats. So we can. I'm not going to go off on this topic. I could talk for hours on it, but if you want to talk about it later, we can talk more about it later. So those are the foods that are going to help us, and one of the foods that are going to put us on that roller coaster ride. And probably most of you know we're trying to avoid those refined foods, those refined carbs, those sugars. And what happens there is they just break down in our system really fast. So we get this rush of sugar into our blood, which is far beyond that, that half teaspoon, that homeostasis that we're trying to maintain. And then our insulin, which is our hormone that helps our cells to take up this sugar to use, goes crazy. It goes on an alarm signal, basically, and so the sugar gets taken out really quickly. So we may initially feel great. We may feel great after that candy bar. We may feel great, after that cereal or that pastry. But what happens is then we crash because it's taken out of our system so quickly. So and then our brain ends up telling our bodies we want more. So not only are we feeling tired, but that's when we're driving through the drive-in or looking for that candy bar or whatever. And there's something. How many of you know what the glycemic index is? Okay. Well, you can Google this. There's something called the glycemic index, which is readily available for everyone, and it basically rates the foods based on how quickly they absorb from our bloodstream. And they rate it on a scale of 1 to 100. 100 is like the fastest absorbing, and it's white bread. And so everything else is compared to that. And so it's a great tool. I wouldn't use it as a Bible. It's a great tool to use for like fruits and vegetables and things like that. And then there are some funky items on there, like a Snickers bar might not be that high in the index because it has a lot of fat in it, which slows down the absorption. So, but it's a good tool to use. So I'd encourage all of you to check it out. We've got like berries, and like for instance in the fruit category, berries would be on the low end, like your apples and pears would be in the middle, and then on top you've got like watermelon, mango, kind of the more sweeter fruits. So, so that's the glycemic index. I wanted to mention breakfast because actually, this whole little spiel that I'm giving, if there's one thing that, if you're going to go home and try, I would do this. And that's to make sure that you have a turbocharged breakfast, which would mean having a protein mixed with a moderate amount of complex carbs. So what would that look like? That might look like, if you're an egg eater, it could be an omelet and veggies. It could be like a whole grain porridge, unrefined, unprocessed grain like a quinoa, which actually is not a grain, it's a seed, so it's high in protein, but it's a good one. Maybe mixed with seeds and berries. It could be a smoothie, which actually we'll be sharing in a bit, because you can put all kinds of really great and wonderful things in there, and it's just like a glass of goodness that can keep you full and charged all day. It could be a re-meal from the night before. I do this a lot. Like I'll have fish and veggies and rice from the night before. Have it for breakfast. I mean, our culture is very carb-centric, but many other cultures don't eat like we do. So, I really encourage you to think about that when you're making something at night. Think about re-mealing it in the morning. And I'm actually just going to take a sip of this.
The term re-meal.
I know, that's so cute.
But why breakfast? Why
Breakfast
not?
actually revs up your metabolism, and it sets you up for a stable level of blood sugar for a longer period of time. And also breakfast is when you're breaking the fast. So you want to load it up when you need it most, which is when you're waking up, you haven't eaten for 8 to 12 hours. That's when you need it. That's when your blood sugar is low. And we tend to do the opposite. So at the end of the day, really, is when we're loading it up and we're having dessert for breakfast. We're grabbing a cup of coffee and a muffin, which is kind of like dessert.
Yeah.
So that's why breakfast.
Because like in Europe, it's like it's totally the opposite. It's a non-existent meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
But they also eat more in the middle of the day.
they do, but they still eat lunch and dinner.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's a different. It
Yeah.
seems so American to me. Breakfast.
Interesting.
And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
just,
Well, there have been a lot of studies done that show that not only does it turbocharge your day and rev up your metabolism, prime your metabolism for the food burning that it's going to do throughout the day, but it actually helps in weight loss. So there have been a lot of studies on
physically
that.
is.
Yeah. So then the next thing that I think I have on your sheet is snacks, and that actually may also feel counterintuitive for people who are calorie counting, but we're not going to eat big meals, but if you incorporate and plan on having and I actually say don't call it a snack, I say call it a fuel, to like shift your consciousness about it, because that actually also keeps your metabolism stable. It keeps you from getting ravenous, it keeps you from getting really hungry, and that's when you're going to be indiscriminately raiding their pantry or raiding the refrigerator.
Are you calling metabolism the same as blood sugar level?
No. So metabolism is how we burn our calories. No. So snacks will help to maintain our blood sugar in a stable kind of way, because we're eating every few hours. So we're not going to allow ourselves to get low where we start to have cravings. So it actually puts you in more control. It's very empowering for a lot of people to plan. And I tell people that the planning piece is the biggest piece of it, that you should always carry something with you. I call it a fuel kit, to have like a little bag with, I recycle my daughter's lunch boxes, and I put in, my kit looks like it will have like an apple and some almond butter. And again, to get the most mileage, it would be a protein with a moderate amount of complex carbs. Maybe a little bag of nuts. Trader Joe's does these, really great little bags of raw almonds. So it does help you to manage your blood sugar, and it also helps you to manage your cravings. So, so basically, you're gonna be, kind of stoking the fire throughout the day to be maintaining this energy. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, actually, Sid, and this may be a good time to run and to go and get the smoothies, are our mitochondria. And the reason, I don't know, who knows what mitochondria are? Okay.